And you're very welcome back to episode number 3 of our Final Whistle Ladies Gaelic Football Podcast. Back again, joined with Emma Kelly, of course, an All-Ireland winner, as both a player and a manager. Joanne is looking a little bit different this week, Emma.
Yeah, she's looking fresher, like.
She's looking, of course, for the people who are watching this on the video podcast, you'd be like, no, that's definitely not Joanne. The audio one might be a little bit of a funnier joke, of course. Joanne had her hen do over the weekend, so isn't available to record with us this week, but I'm delighted to be joined by Edel Hayden from Carlow, who's stepped in as our super sub pundit this week. You're very welcome, Edel, to our podcast.
Thanks so much, Diarmuid.
Definitely someone who's experienced in the game. I mean, I remember reading, I think it was at the start of this year, that this is your, if I'm right in saying what I read, is it your 25th year now involved with Carlow?
Yeah, no, it is. I think this is the 25th season now going. I suppose it's a long time. For myself, I think I'm a bit mad now at times, but as Emma will probably tell you there as well, it's kind of addictive. You can't. I suppose a lot of the girls that I've played against, even Joanne, they've got their day in Crow Park, and when you haven't kind of got there yet, it's hard to give it up, So we'll stay trucking anyway for another while till the body breaks down. I'm sure it'll be soon enough anyway. I can't stay going forever. So
we're obviously talking about the league on the podcast, I suppose, at the start of the year. The league is obviously a great occasion for teams and for yourselves. Like a couple of years ago, that game up in Birr against Limerick, like that was the first time that you had won silverware in an awful long time. So from the Carlow perspective, like the league campaign that year really did mean a lot to you guys.
Yeah, no, it did. I suppose just with having so much, we had so much disappointment with the semi-finals. I suppose every year kind of we've always got to a semi-final and we just can never seem to get over it. So even just to have that for ourselves, even for the team as well, it was a huge boost to us to actually go that step further, and just winning the league. And I suppose just Leinster finals and stuff against Kilkenny, kind of, it's never enough, and you want to keep pushing for the younger girls as well, coming up to know that they can kind of make progress as well, that it's not just the bigger counties and the bigger teams or the senior teams, so even just to get there and have all the supporters there that day, it was great to finally get over the line, and especially with Limerick too, because ourselves, Limerick, for Fermanagh, we've been battling, and even Loud there, we've been in groups for so long, and I suppose the games have been so close, so to eventually just get the win, it was great.
Absolutely, and we will be discussing a bit more on Carlow later on, of course. Division 4 takes precedent this weekend. We'll start by looking back, I suppose, at a fairly frantic weekend of action from Division 1 all the way to Division 3. We'll start first with Division 1 and high-flying Waterford pick up their third successive win, a 110 to 8-point result against Dublin. Very contrasting, I suppose, tale for both teams. Waterford have been flying in the league so far this year. Dublin are bottom of the table, struggling, fielding, experimental teams and getting a lot of younger girls minutes into the legs, but Waterford looked strong. To say that though, Dublin did start well. They raced into 3 points to 1 lead after 10 minutes, but Waterford kind of went through the gears and led by 1-6 to 4 points at half time, and Lauren McGregor again finding the back of the net. Another great result, Emma, for the Daisha, but Dublin, I suppose, are really wanting to put themselves back on a winning stride now once we return for the league action in a week's time.
Yeah, Waterford will be buzzing. That's them sitting high and mighty and unbeaten, and their confidence is just growing week in, week out. And the spread of scores they're getting is unreal. If teams are trying to tie down one player, another girl steps up. And as we've seen last week, they're more than capable of taking their 2-pointers as well. And Emma Murray came back in for the game last week and got player of the match. And again, she was brilliant at the weekend against Dublin. Yeah, Dublin are going through a bit of kind of transition, trying to see who can replace maybe more of the experienced girls and giving a lot of girls game time debuts, but it was good to see the likes of Arden Nolan and Neith Hetherington stepping up, and Jodie Egan again was taking the battle to Waterford this week. But again, they had a big spread of scores too. I think that maybe 7 or 8 different scores on the board, and they're starting to perform a little. They're just not getting the results they need, but they're sitting rock bottom at the bottom and of the league, and you're kind of going, they need to try and get a result here, or they could be going down to Division 2, which I don't know if Dublin's been down there in how many years. Yeah, it's gotten to here, but again, they are going through a bit of a change, and no doubt come championship, there'll be another kind of, you'll see another side of them coming. Like, they just need a wee bit of time to mix and blend.
Yeah, and Waterford just looked, very composed and assured again. And, Breed McMaw looked very strong, getting 3 points. Kellyanne Hogan, again, very, very, good in front of the post, getting 2 points alongside Anya O'Neill and a couple of other spread of scores. And all of Dublin's 8 points arrived from 8 different players. No player got more than a point in that game. From their perspective, Edel, I suppose Dublin they're fielding a lot of younger players. Like, I know from the All-Ireland squad last year, they're missing a lot of experience. And I suppose when you're losing someone, say like Hannah Tyrrell in the forward line, you are going to try and find someone to fill the boots. And I suppose the league is your best chance to see what's out there and try and get players to step into that role. And they've got some tasty players in that squad at the moment, but it's all just, I suppose, getting minutes into the legs and getting experience into them as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you can see it there even from the start. I think has been 2 different goalies as well. It's just not a settled team. They're trying out a lot of young players, and it's probably more about trying to see what young players are going to fit in with the more experienced girls and just drive Dublin forward. I don't think, like, as Emma was saying there, like, they are sitting down in the bottom of Division 1 like at the moment, but I don't think Dublin are really going to look back at it come championship time, and I don't think they'll dwell on it too much. I think it's great as well to have the league for the likes of Dublin when they are looking to bring in youth as well. You can try it out, and we can say about the new rules and trying to settle that as well, but I think come championship time, Dublin are going to have a totally different team out there, and they will be filtering in some of those young girls as well in and out. Some of them are doing really well as well. You can see a lot of the younger girls that have come in even from Donegal there as well. Like, they just go at teams, they've no fear and they're very direct, and it seems to be working. So if they can even pick out a group of players there as well, young players, and bring them forward with the more experienced players, I think they'll be thereabouts come championship time too.
I know you probably need a degree of luck in games as well, and just unfortunate for Abby Shields, I suppose, the way that goal happened. I think it was Emma Murray's ball just dropped in, and Lauren McGregor sticks it into the back of the net, and that was probably a big turning point in the first half, that it just gave Waterford a big mentality boost going in at halftime. I imagine, Emma, does that kind of really change the mindset of your team talk at halftime, or do you already kind of have what you're going to say to your team going in, we do need an improvement here to try and turn the scoring around?
I'd say they probably would have had a similar enough team talk, but obviously a goal is just a sucker punch as well. Especially with a load of young girls, you're trying to build their confidence and resilience, and when you're up against a team full of confidence, basically it was the opposites coming against each other. With Waterford high flying and Dublin just trying to stroke a win that a goal, and like, Abby will be disappointed. I think she's a class keeper, but she'll put that behind her, and her mental resilience is bound to be stronger than a lot of the girls that's out the field. So it's her trying to say, look here, we'll make up for the mistake and push it behind. It's the next ball, and you just have to go with it from there. So I'd say the team talk probably wouldn't have changed much. They would have had a few tactics and switches and ideas that was going right and what was going wrong, that it was just more, right, well, we can see that, put it to the back of our heads, and let's just hammer on and see what we can do. There's no point looking back on something you can't change.
Absolutely. From that perspective, moving elsewhere, Galway returning to winning ways, but a 3-12 to 1-7 win against Kildare in Tuam. 2-6 to 5 points up at half time. Andrea Trill and Leanne Cohen both rattling the back of the net again. And I think from a Galway perspective, they tallied 3-12, 3-7 arrived from their full forward line. And I think from their perspective, Edel, if you have a full forward line that is just that free scoring, they're just going to want those players now to kick on for the remainder of this league campaign and bring that form into a championship season as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even looking back at the videos there, like, they looked really sharp and very direct as well. Like, even Andrea Trill, like, she was just exceptional when she was on the ball. She just drove at their defence as well. And I suppose when you take out of that 3-7 with it Roisin Leonard, I know she had a 2-pointer, and Kate Slevin, like, she gave some absolutely exceptional balls inside to the girls. But when you take them outside of the scoring range and they still score 3-7 from the inside line, like, it's absolutely unreal. And it's probably something that the other teams are going to have to look at when they come up against them too.
Yeah, and like they just started strong, and they went through the gears, and just looked very, very strong and composed. But Kildare are a very, very good team as well, Emma. But I think they'll be just disappointed that when they had some bright performances, say that Armagh game last weekend, they looked strong at times in that game, just unfortunately didn't get the result from their perspective. And you look at the game against Cork as well, that they felt they could have won it. That late free by Katie Quirk, helping Cork for a share of the spoils, that they'll be disappointed that just they didn't match the level of output that Galway put up.
Yeah, they'll be kind of looking at wanting a wee bit of a touch of green whenever they are having a wee purple patch and try to get the scores on the board, whereas Galway were coming up and kind of punishing them near enough in every chance that they got. Their efficiency was pretty good. And as we said, they've, again, 8 or 9 different scores, Galway, so Kildare's defence would have had to been on top of the game because them 3 girls were just rotating and dragging the defence all over the show. So you need to have a solid backline that kind of know what their jobs and their roles are and set upon that. And then when they do get their chances up top, they need to take them. And they will be disappointed. But again, they're building, and you can see that they're starting to build confidence and they're getting to know each other and their strengths and their weaknesses. So, like, Kildare, yeah, they'll be disappointed they haven't got the results on the board, but their performances are getting better, and they just need to try and get over the line and be a bit more efficient in the forward line whenever the defence is under so much pressure. And I'm saying under so much pressure, but at the same time, yeah, they conceded a lot, but they actually did well to keep them down to that as well. Like, so they will take confidence from the performances. It's just trying to get a 60-minute performance instead of just dribs and drabs here and there.
Yeah, and it took them like 14 minutes to get their first point of the game. And you think, okay, we've got our first point and we can try and settle. And then you just see Roisin Leonard take a free off the ground and kick it straight over the bar. And it's a 2-pointer. Like, I just remember seeing Roisin Leonard do that the last couple of years. And they even interviewed her after the semi-final a couple of years ago up in Tullamore against Cork, and I remember us asking her about that. She's like, just something I've been practicing for years and doing. And even with the new rules now, Edel, if you have those forwards that are comfortable with taking those frees off the ground or just taking them from outside the 2-point arc, like, that's going to be crucial in maybe those high scoring scenarios where you need something that can give you a big boost at the latter stages of a game. And if you have someone that can put over 2-pointers for fun with the new rules, I think it's going to be a big weapon for teams this year.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think kind of when we get closer probably to championship time, I think with the weather as well, like those Roisin was putting that ball over. I suppose the ground was pretty damp as well. Like, the weather wasn't good the weekend either. Like, so you can only imagine what the girls will be doing now come summertime as well, like when the weather is fine and the ball is lighter, but it's going to play a huge part in the games, like especially the tight games. And I think a lot of the games, like you'll see as well, come to the summer, will be closer as well. So the 2-pointers will play massive effect. And even we can see probably the solo and go as well over the weekend as well, like just with the new rules coming in, like it's so fast. Like, there's no break in play, and just some of the goals even over the weekend, looking back at the videos as well, like there was a good few that came from the solo and go, you know, the other teams obviously are just switching off, not tuned in time, and obviously you can't tackle then up to 4 meters, so it's just they're going to play a huge effect, I think. Yeah.
How have you found the new rules in the early stages? Just the likes of the solo and goal, like just being able to utilize it, and if you have someone that can just beeline for that goal and take a shot at it, I think it's going to be another asset that teams might use to their advantage this year.
Yeah, I do. I think like we've really been working on it in training, I suppose, and since we went back, and I think it's massive. It's after changing, like our game has gone so much quicker in Division 4, like, you know, you can see the pace has actually been up with it, like there's very little stoppages, which I thought before, like, you know, with free after free, the game can kind of slow down, and it kind of can get boring as well for spectators, like when it's been blue every, you know, a few minutes. So the solo and goal, literally, like you're not getting the breaks, it's so much quicker. But also on that, then I find as well in our game, say with the tackle as well, like at least we can actually tackle now, because there's a huge difference between Division 1, Division 4, whether you can tackle or whether you can't, you know. And I thought last year as well, like you'd be training so hard and working on your strength and conditioning, and then you're going to the games and you could have 2 ticks like after a few seconds for literally a tip on the arm or things like that as well. So I think that's after playing a massive effect in the league so far for us as well.
Absolutely. Just going back to Galway there, like you look at Andrea Trail gets a goal and 4 points, Roisin Leonard a goal and 3, Leanne Cohen gets a goal, and then you've Aoife O'Rourke, Kate Thompson, the 2 Noon sisters, Hannah and Eva, and Kate Slevin all getting a point each. Like, you know, I suppose Galway are really trying to push on this year. They've made the step up from Division 2 and haven't looked, you know, like slowing down anytime soon. Of course, they did get back to winning ways after the result last time just didn't really go as they would have hoped. But they're a team that have, you know, been knocking on the door for All-Ireland silverware the last couple of years. Of course, made an All-Ireland final back in 2024. Are they looking like a dark horse, Emma, in the league, or is it too early to kind of just see what way teams are going? Because like Galway will have players that are going to come back and boost their team, but everyone else is going to have it as well.
I think it's a bit early to kind of be saying who's going to be the dark horses, but Galway's going to be up there anyway. I don't think anybody would ever turn around and say Galway don't have a chance, especially with all those Clonbur and Kilkerran girls, and like if you think that's the way that Galway's performing without the Ward sisters, without Olivia de Ville, like you're just going, like defences are going, holy crap at what they have now, and then them 3 come in, never mind the rest, they're going to be going, what the hell? So like Nicola Ward could score a couple of points or goals herself just from centre half back, and she could obviously stop it as well. So you're just going, it's a bit early, because some teams are still trying to figure out the new rules, their strengths and weaknesses, and how to actually play best to tactically wise with the new rules. So like it is pretty early, but at the same time, I wouldn't be ruling Galway out at all. Like to be pushing on. So like they play Armagh next week, so that'll be another like interesting game just to see where they're at, because Armagh obviously had the poor first game against Kildare, but have been starting to ramp it up a wee bit. And then Kildare's going to go against Dublin, and Kildare will probably be going here. We fancy our chances there, because Dublin haven't been getting results and their confidence is down. So that'll be a key game there, the Kildare and Dublin one. But yeah, Galway, I wouldn't be ruling them out of being in around the last the quarterfinals, at least in the All Ireland, if not closer.
Yeah, and even just in the league this year, Galway will be right up there, and Division 1 is shaping up to be very competitive, and we've plenty more football left to go, of course, in the league campaign this year. Bringing us to the last Division 1 game that we've seen played this weekend, that was Kerry against Meath. Kerry winning 4-10 to Meath's 2-12. A good result for Kerry to get back to winning ways after the defeat to Waterford a week prior down in Killarney. Of course, a rematch of last year's Senior Championship semi-final. Kerry off the blocks very quickly, with Leah McMahon getting 2 early goals for a player who started her first game for her county, didn't look like putting a foot wrong. And I suppose when you get 2 goals in a game early, Edel, like what kind of confidence does that breed into a team?
Yeah, it's really good, like to get the goals, I suppose, and for herself as well, being so young as well, just to go out and get them goals. It just settles the team, settles the early nerves, and you just build on that. The confidence you get alone from a goal, you kind of put questions in the other team's head also as well. I know it's early in the game, but still, I actually was so impressed with Leah McMahon as well. Like for her age, I suppose. I seen the interview with Shifra. She was saying that they play a bit basketball together, I think, as well. Like, so I suppose them linking up on the pitch as well is going to only work wonders as well for Kerry. But yeah, just getting the goals early, and I think it was the second half as well was an early goal as well for Kerry. Like, so that's obviously something they're practicing and going after. Like, that doesn't just come naturally as well. Like, they work on that in the training field. So I'd say they were very happy with the both early goals there in the first and second half.
Yeah, and I know like Schiffer had a really strong performance in the game, 1-6, and got the player of the match accolade from that game. And while Kerry had the 2 early goals and were doing well, Meath were continuing to truck away, and Emma Duggan was doing Emma Duggan things as we've always seen her do. The scoring that she was putting up was fantastic. And then Orla Finnegan gets that goal for Meath, and they were just a point behind Kerry again, and you're thinking what way can things, I suppose, develop. And Schiffer gets 2 points, and it's 2-5 to 1-7 at half time. Kerry just go in ahead at the break, but as you mentioned, I think was it 3 minutes into the second half, O'Shea got that goal, a really well taken goal from her, and then Kerry is supposed to go through the gears again, and Mary O'Connell gets the 4th goal, and they run home to get the points and pick up their second win of the campaign. Big blow for them though, seeing the likes of Caught Lynch going off injured. And I suppose, Emma, when you want to give players the minutes into the legs and try out players during the league campaign, but when you're losing starters as well to injuries at this time of year, it's certainly a selection headache for any manager.
Yeah, I thought Lynch was brilliant in the last game. But look here, as I'd always say, you could get injured walking down the stairs, walking down the street. So like, there's no difference in the league. Obviously, yes, you're thrown into physical battle, but that's what they're training for. Half them girls would hate to be training and then turn around and be told, look here, we're actually going to put you in a wee protective bubble here. And then the next thing to do something, as he said, walking up the steps to work or on a night out or whatever, like, never happened before in a night out. Don't know what I'm talking about there, like, but I'll say no names. We'll see if Joanne comes home on one bit, never mind. Here, like, it's pre-season basically for some of the girls. Some of the girls are playing flat out at college football, so any of them could get injured at any point in any time. Clubs are starting back now, so girls are going to be wanted, but they're going to want to play matches. They would prefer to play matches than to be training flat out and not doing games. So, yeah, it's gutting for Lynch. Hopefully it's not as bad as expected or whatever, that she's back in a couple of weeks and flying fit, because I said she has been unreal and fullback. It's not like she's taken over from a nobody in there. Like, their fullback the last couple of years was unreal. So she has been playing class, but I love watching Kerry and Meath play. They just go hammer and tog at each other, and you don't know what's going to happen. And like, goals win games, and it just happened to be that Kerry got a couple of goals there. And like, if that game went on for 2 hours, you'd still go, right, they're just going to go back and forward. Emma Duggan's going to lift something, and then Schiffer's going to come at them. And it's just class to watch. But Ciara Smith was unreal, and Leah McMahon, like, that's the league is where you want to throw them young girls in and say, look, there you go. There's Shifra, there's Mary, there's all these older girls about. They'll look after you, but at the same time, go and show us what you can do. And she did that, and she'll be buzzing. And now she's put her hand up there to say, do you know what it is? I want to keep my position, and that's the way it is now. And anybody that comes back in or is in training, fight for me, fight for it, and that's it. So yeah.
Yeah, and like those girls that you mentioned, the likes of Shifa and Mary, like they might be seen as the older girls in the team now, but they're still in their, mid to early
They're still
20s
mid,
as well.
yeah. But they've been about that long. It's a bit like Emma Doogan. You've heard about her when she was 16, 17, that you forget that they're probably all still playing college football. Whereas you're just going, all them Iler girls, and like they're not. They're still babies, basically. Like, but yeah.
And then you have the likes of Leah coming in. I believe she's still 19, going on 20 now, and it's her first start. She's been involved with the underage setups in Kerry the last couple of years, and has got the chance to come off the bench in the league, and has done really well with her home club, Dr. Crokes, for the last couple of years. Like, again, she would have been someone, say, the last couple of years when she was maybe 16 or 17, that you're thinking, geez, she's been around for so long, but she's still such a young girl. And now she's coming into a Kerry setup where you have the Schaefers, you've the Daniel O'Leary's, you've, Rachel Dwyer, you've Jaden Lucy, you've, some top quality forwards in there. And I suppose going on that line, Emma, like when, Mark Burke gave her the chance this weekend to shine against a team like Meath, and she grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah, I'd turn around and say, you know what, keep giving me the chance. And other young girls now in the squad will be going, geez, Leah's got her chance and took it. So see if I get my chance, I'm going to do it as well. So, like, we're talking about young pups. Like, Adele's sitting there going, look at me. You forgot to mention me.
Even if it's not Joanne in the firing line one week on the podcast, Edel gets it this week from...
Joanne will still get some mentions. It's all right.
Our super sub might not want to return later on down the line if she's stumbled upon with that level of questioning. I felt bad saying, geez, you've been with Carlow for 25 years at the start of it. I was like, oh, geez, that's bad enough.
I was going to start counting my fingers. When did she start?
Going on about Meath, like, I know it's not a result that Meath would like, and they've gone down the league table as a result of it. But as you mentioned, Emma Duggan 7 points. Ciara Smith looks really, really strong again with 4 points. They're a young team as well. Like, they've got younger girls coming in, but they have those players like you mentioned there, Emma, the likes of Emma Duggan, who's been there since she was a teenager coming out of school, when they had those COVID affected years where they won the intermediate and then moved up to senior and won the senior as well back to back. They've got that experience, but they have those younger players as well, Adele, that are coming in. And Meath are still, we spoke about Galway being a dark horse. Like, you can't really write off Meath, even if they haven't got a couple of good results to start the league campaign. They're building something really strong there, and can certainly, once championship comes around, just show what they're made of.
Yeah, definitely. Like, in fairness, like, they're kind of a young side as well. And see the likes of Emma and even Ciara there, even last week, she was absolutely brilliant as well. But them younger girls as well, I learned so much from the league. It's brilliant that you're able to, as we were saying before, it's brilliant to have the league there as well, to throw the younger girls in with the older girls and see how it works out for them and see who steps up to the plate. And I just think, like, some of the games, like, I suppose Meath were unlucky at times as well. They had a lot of possession, and I suppose in the third, fourth quarter, like, it probably did, the Kerry had turned them over a few times as well. So, like, in a few of the games, they have been unlucky, I suppose, not to score or get up the pitch a little bit more. But I think definitely they are building, and there definitely won't be, you won't be writing off Meath yet anyway. I think for the championship they'll come strong again, and I'd say we'll see a few familiar faces of the older girls back as well to strengthen it up too.
That's for sure. We 3 games at the weekend. We had 4 down for decision, but Armagh Cork fell foul of the weather. That game has moved to this weekend, so we will have 4 Division 4 games and 1 Division 1 game on the agenda this weekend, with Armagh and Cork playing each other on Saturday, or Sunday, should I say, at 1 o'clock. Again, that game could be moved closer to the date. We'll just take a look at the league table from the round 3 action, of course. A little bit of a break now between round 3 and round 4. Waterford top of the table with 9 points from 3 games. Galway in second with 6, joined with Kerry in third on 6. Score difference keeping them apart. Cork are in fourth, of course, a game in hand with 4 points. Meath in fifth with 3, with Armagh in sixth on 3 points. Of course, they have a game in hand as well. Kildare in 7th with 1 point, and bottom of the table we have the Dubs with no points tallied so far. Let's move on to Division 2, and while the Division 1 action was there was plenty to digest from Division 1 at the weekend, Division 2 had a lot of interesting fixtures, and Cavan, who have moved up from Division 3, remain unbeaten in Division 2. They've been a little bit of a story of Division 2 so far, winning 111 to 2-6 against Wexford. Didn't have it their own way throughout the game. Wexford really went at them in the final few minutes, and it was Zara Faye's late point that secured them the result against Wexford. And it was a game that really, really had everything in terms of an opening half. It really kind of set the narrative. Like, Cavan Emma look really, really strong, and they don't really want to, I suppose, let the pace now dwindle going into the latter stages now of the league campaign. But for a team coming up from Division 3, they've put it up to everyone they've played so far.
Yeah, as we'd always say, the difference between the division, all the teams basically in all the divisions, when they step up, it's actually not that huge. It just means that if you're down in Division 4s, I would always say it's hell. But once you get into Division 3, it actually, there's the similarities and then so on. So Cavan will be over the moon at how they have started in Division 2, and they do not look out of place at all. But the likes of, as we said, Aisling Sheridan and Aisling Green and all Emmons are kind of the experienced girls and pushing on and driving the rest to the floor. And they seem to have them game winners that they don't know when to lie down, and when the going gets tough, they step up and make it count. But Zara Faye, cornerback, gets it on the edge of the D, and I'd say half the people were going, "Don't do it, give it to a forward, don't do it," and she just went, "You know what it is, I'll pop it over." And I don't know, we didn't hear many screams unless they were all in shock at her doing it, but it's always good to see a cornerback actually going, "I'm taking my chance here and I'm backing myself and I'm going for it," and she got her just rewards for it. But Cavan's high and flying and their tails are up, and you're just going, "Do you know what it is?" You would fancy them to keep pushing on now and getting to the final.
There's nothing like seeing a defender come up from the back and put the ball over the bar. Like, there's just something special about seeing someone, if it's a cornerback, a fullback, or a wing back, or someone just coming up and putting the ball over the bar. But from the start, like, Aoife Cullen gets the opening score for Wexford, and she's been doing really, really well for Wexford. And if you want someone to give them the ball to, like, she's going to be, someone leader in chief. And you've Aisling Sheridan that you mentioned, Emma, getting the reply from the Cavan perspective. But Orla Byrne gets the ball into the back of the net for Wexford in the 8th minute. And then, again, Cavan hit straight back, I suppose, from a team's perspective, Edel, when you can see the goal, like, is it just straight away, reset, next kick out, win the ball, and just try and get the scores? Because Ella Sheridan got 2 quick fire points, and Niamh Kennigan gets a score, and suddenly by the 13th minute we're level once again.
Yeah, no, like, look, I suppose, like, in training, that's what we train for. As I say, like, when the goal goes in, it's how you react. You can either lie down and the other team are going to push on and go further. You can try and get up the pitch yourself and get the next score straight away. But even in that game, I just thought Cavan are doing so well since they went up. They don't look outplaced whatsoever. Even with Aisling Sheridan, and that we played them last year, and oh my God, they're a team to be reckoned with, I think. And the more they go on, I think the more experience to get into the younger girls as well. They just seem to be gelling so well. But yeah, look, when you go down and you have the likes of Aisling and a few of the older girls there, like, they are really going to push it on. And look, the 57 minutes to go, I suppose, like, there was only a point in it, at that stage. So I suppose Wexford will be looking at it going, like, they were probably kicking themselves after that game. They were in it up to that point. But it was just Cavan, I suppose, their experience, it just pushed on. And as I said, even as the goal went in, like, they just drove on it and didn't lie down, I suppose.
And it remained kind of nip and tuck until that halftime whistle. Like, Ella Sheridan's been doing really, really well for Cavan in the last few games, and it was Catherine Dolan's point that put them in 1 point up at the break. And then it's, you have the halftime talks, the words of wisdom. And then 9 minutes into the second half, Cavan just hit the jugular again with Kinnigan hitting the back of the net. And you could think, okay, Wexford might drop their heads, but Wexford comes straight back into it and they get a point. And then with 10 minutes left on the clock, right when we're getting into, I suppose, the business end of the game, Shireen Hamilton hits the back of the net and we're back level again. And I think that's just the narrative of the game was just, you score, we score, you score, we score. If you can get a goal, we'll get one back. And while Wexford didn't get the result in the end, and while they looked like they could have got a results in the final few minutes, Emma, I think they can take a lot from it, even if 3 games in, they still don't have a point on the board. They still haven't gotten a result. New management and the team are settling in, but if they can put performances like this on the table for the remainder of the competition and try and build on it and try and turn the negatives into positives, they could be looking like a team that can stay up in the division for next year at the minimum.
Yeah, I seen an interview with the manager and he was pretty happy with the performance. Obviously got it that they didn't get a point on the board or the draw, but he was happy with the performance. And even from this being the third week, each week you can just see Wexford are improving week on week, and it takes time for a new management team to come in and settle and get used to the girls and for them to gain trust in the management and their styles and what they expect of you. So it's good to see that Wexford are starting to click now. Yes, they haven't got the results, but they're clicking. And as you said, you can see that hopefully now they will push on, and the performances that they've been building on will get them the results now in the next few weeks. And the teals will get up and they'll continue to build that confidence in the squad and the management, and things will just start getting brighter and brighter as it goes. But yeah, all in all, like they're improving week on week, and it's brilliant to see. You don't want the team to be getting worse each week, then you're going, what's going wrong? But they are progressing weekly, and it's great to see.
A team that have progressed since the opening day draw against Cavan or Mayo. They've had 2 home games now in succession, won both of them, while last week's result with Wexford was a very high-scoring shootout win. Their results against Tipperary at the weekend, a 9 points to 7 win. This was one that they really had to dig deep and get a result in. 4 points to 2 up at halftime, very low scoring opening half. Kayla Doherty looked very, very good for them throughout. She kicked 3 of their 4 points in the opening half. Kieran Needham kicking the other one. Tipperary looked strong. Heather Spillane and Emma Morrissey got their opening 2 points, and then Mayo looked strong to start the second half. They raced into a bit of a lead, and by the end of the third quarter, it was 8 points makes 3. You thought maybe they were going to kick on again, a small bit like the Wexford game last weekend, but to Tipperary's credit, they outscored Mayo for the last part of the game. Emma Morrissey with 3 points, and Heather Spillane getting another score there as well. Aoife Garrity's point for Mayo was all they could muster in that final quarter, but I just have to talk about that Laura Brennan save. Like, you talk about big moments in the game, like Tipperary had that momentum behind them in that final quarter, could have got a result, but Laura Brennan just tipping Emma Morrissey's shot onto the crossbar in the final few minutes of that game. Like, from a perspective like that, Edel, like, just how big a moment is that when, say, your defense is just breached for a split second, they have a shot on goal and your goalkeeper pulls off just a big save and a big moment, and you can just kind of regroup after that and secure the win.
Yeah, no, it's massive as well, because especially when you do have a breach like that, like it does come down to, I suppose, goalies don't get enough credit sometimes, and she pulled off a massive save. I was just watching it there today on the videos. So I suppose Mayo were lucky in that sense that she was able to do that for them, and it probably gave them a huge lift then to finish out the game as well. Like, it gives the whole game a lift. It's like if a back blocks the ball as well, and it's someone's in on goal, like it just lifts everybody from the back line right up to the forward line. So no, it was absolutely brilliant save and fair play to her. But I'd say as well as that, like Tip were so well set up in defence. I think the weekend towards like maybe some of the other games, like, and they really put it up to Mayo at the weekend. So I'd say even if that goal had went in, like, it would have probably made their league campaign a little bit different. But it's great to see that they were so competitive in that game as well against Mayo. But yeah, I think that save really saved Mayo as well there near the end.
I think Diana O'Hora will be quite happy with that, Emma, even if it was a big save from her goalkeeper to make sure that it's still an unbeaten start for Mayo in the league this year. They still looked strong in the game. I suppose might be just disappointed with how that final quarter developed, that Tipperary just started to slowly chip away at that deficit and could have grabbed a goal in the dying embers.
Yeah, as Edel says, that's what goalkeepers are there for. They're there to concentrate and stay focused and then to pull off that last minute shot. But yeah, Diane will be happy enough because, as we said, Tipperary set up really defensively, were really well organised. But again, if you watched the scoring against Wexford last week, you're going to go, if we don't shackle up here and block their quarters, they're going to run through us and we can't afford to concede those goals. So going from scoring, 5 goals the week before to no goals, that's brilliant from Tipperary. But I think they probably left it too long to let the shackles off. They were probably too worried of let's stop Mayo from scoring before they went, do you know what it is? We can actually go and maybe now try and chip away at them. We'll try and drag their defence out. We'll come in. We'll try and get a couple of scores. And then you're going, right, well, they actually nearly won the game. Maybe if they had have took the shackles off 5 minutes earlier and went at them, they possibly could have got that win. So Mayo, will be buzzing because it's so frustrating. See, whenever the defence is well set up, you have to be patient on the ball. When do you give it? What's the right runs? Somebody can be making a run and you're going, they're actually running down a blind alleyway here. I'm holding on to it. So the decision making and awareness of where Tipperary's defence was brilliant because they had to then be more efficient in their shots because they knew they weren't going to get it. But as I said, Tipperary will probably be gutted that they didn't say, do you know what? We've held them, but let's go and get the win here and take the shackles off a wee bit quicker and go at them. Because when they did go at them, like in the last 15 minutes or so, you could see they could do damage. So Tipperary will be buzzing that they kept them goalless and their defence will be on a high. But now their forwards need to kind of pick up now where the defence have set their tone like.
Yeah, I know they scored 2-12 in the opening game against Wexford, but conceded 2-9 and they conceded 1-15 to Cavan and put up, I think it was 1-9 in the end in that game. So they have the forwards. They're well capable of putting the scores on the board. We've seen what their defence could do at the weekend. So I suppose Edel, it's trying to blend both of them in. You want the complete performance of being able to put the scores up at one end and try and limit them at the other. And I'm sure they can take a lot of learnings from this game. Probably a game as well that, you know, when you come away with it and you're disappointed, it's something that you can just take in to say, right, we're going into training now the week after and we're going to right the wrongs now for our next game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, look, I think with Tipperary as well, look, they're very young as well, of new management there. So it's going to take them a while to settle and figure everything out. But definitely, look, they can learn a lot from the games, like over the last few weeks. And like all the teams in the divisions, I think like whereas you see some great scores, there's also a lot of goals conceded as well. So where it's great for some teams in one sense, you're also going to have to look back and look at the defensive side of it as well, because I think in one of the games there was like someone scored 7 goals but conceded 6, or something like that. So while it's good at one point, you're going to have so much learnings in another. But definitely for Tipperary, I think like another few weeks under their belt, just to figure out where they're at, and just with the younger players coming in as well. But I think they will learn a lot from the few games that they have played so far, and I think that was a huge boost, especially against Mayo as well, what they have been racking up in scores. So to take that away with no goals as well, like is a massive boost for them. And I think they'll go into training this week with their heads a little bit higher this week, and they'll go at training hard this week for the next game ahead.
A team that definitely have their heads held high after picking up their first win in the division at the weekend were Monaghan. 112 to 1-6 result against Westmeath, and I have to say Monaghan started as they meant to go on. Ava Sherry rattling the back of the net inside the opening minute, and then getting a point, and then Chloe McBride's 3 scores and a Leanne Maguire point, making it 1-5-2 at half time. And they started to kick on again in the second half. A breach just gave Westmeath the chance to get an opening score in the second half. And 12 minutes into the second half, it was a 7-point game, and by quarter's end, it was 1-8 to 4 points. Like Monaghan just looked very impressive after the opening 2 games. We're just trying to take the shackles off and show what they could do, Emma. And they just looked very, very strong from start to finish to pick up their first 3 points of the campaign.
Yeah, it seems to be the common denominator that we're always saying new manager in, trying to get the settles. But it was great to see the likes of Leanne Maguire and Chloe McBride stepping up, because to me, they would be a couple of their more experienced girls that have been around the block the last few years and have been leading that forward line. So it was good to see that they have now got a bit of confidence and their shooting boots back on and getting them across the line. Now, Westmeath have been playing very well. So, Monaghan will have done their homework on them and obviously earmarked Anna Jones and them to try and slow them down. So, great win for Monaghan, and hopefully now that will give them a wee bit of confidence going into the next couple of games to say, right, well, we've got a couple of points on the board, we're building, we're starting to know each other, we're starting to get our new tactics, and obviously our shooters are starting to know their distance and basically know their movements now with the new tactics. What can we do? Can we maybe get a couple of 2-pointers in there? But Chloe and Leanne are class acts when they're on fire. So it's good to see them back shooting the lights out.
And while, Monaghan were well on top, like Westmeath just roared right back into it. Like they get a point to settle themselves, and then Anna Jones, puts the ball into the back of the net. Suddenly it's a 3-point ball game again. And I suppose when we seen last weekend the way that Westmeath and the Tyrone game went, like it was just a high scoring game of who's going to score next and who's going to get a goal and what are we going to see. And Anna Jones following her goal scoring form from the previous week with 5 goals in 2 games, fantastic, return from her perspective. And, they'd had to dig deep, Monaghan, with the likes of McBride and Ava Sherry getting a point as well. And, I suppose, as you mentioned, Emma, you want those girls to step up, and even if it's just early on in the league, just to, put a bit of confidence back into a team that did suffer, defeats in the early rounds.
Yeah, you need those girls to step up and lead by example, because they're trying to bring a couple of new girls in round and get them used to the feel of it. So you want your big girls to step up. So the likes of the Garlands, the Courtneys, and I know Moran was suspended this week, but this is when it counts, and this is when your manager is looking to all those girls and say, look, do you know what it is? We're going through a wee bit of a change here. Girls need to lead from the front, whether it means you track back a bit more, your movements a bit more, maybe you're just taking on a wee bit more of that, the bulk and the work. Do it and you'll get your just rewards, and that's what we're starting to see for Monaghan as a whole, and that's a great result. Like Westmeath have been firing, that they've been doing well, and to keep Anna Jones to 1 goal after her having a wee field day last week was brilliant to see as well. So yeah, I think Monaghan will go into the next round going, you know what it is, bring it.
Yeah, I know Westmeath will be disappointed with how the game has gone. I suppose they looked very strong against Tyrone last weekend. You thought they were going to push on and try and get a couple more scores, but just didn't go their way. But I was listening to an interview that their manager, Frank Brown, did after the game, and, was disappointed with the result, but also, I suppose, with the refereeing, that he said a couple of decisions, just didn't go their way. And I know Joanne had alluded to it last week with the way that the Laois game felt night and day to the Roscommon game, and Emma, you made a reference to the way that Emer Smith was treated the last day. From your perspective, Edel, having played a couple of games now this year, have you felt that it's kind of similar standard of refereeing across the board? Like, there are new rules and it's probably going to be harder to police certain aspects of the game, but do you find it's kind of the same across the board, or is it kind of maybe one decision in one game might not happen in another game?
Yeah, as much as I don't like to say it, I suppose like it has, like the first game we played, I suppose, is different to the second game, you know, so it does, like, you'll get away with some things in one game and you won't in the next, and that's just the way it's been since we probably went back. And I suppose it's us getting used to new rules and the refs as well. But like, I thought the first game we played was a lot more physical against Sligo, and the second game we played against Kilkenny, I thought like the frees were just a lot easier come by, whereas Sligo you had to work a lot harder, I suppose, for your frees. But yeah, I do find that it's going to take a while for the consistency to be in across the board, I think, and you can see in a lot of games. I've seen that game as well against Fermanagh, and I do think Emer Smith was harshly done by a few times there. Like, you know, I suppose if it was last year, it probably might have been a bit different. But yeah, I think it's probably something that's going to have to be looked at, because even as I say, like, if you go and look at Dublin and Meath play, and you look at our divisions, like the refereeing is so different, and I suppose it's supposed to be the same throughout all divisions. So yeah, it is. It's different in my eyes, anyway. Yeah.
Is it harder, Emma, to police the game now with the new rules and everything? I know you've stepped into the world of reffing. Have you seen a big difference since the new rules have come in, just with the way that you might have to look at certain scenarios and give decisions that you mightn't have given, say, a year ago?
Well, the likes of the breaches, obviously there's lines people there, so they can help with the breaches. You have a fourth official there, so they can help with the breaches. But the main thing is the tap and go. Like, we watched a couple of games, and the tap and go, some of the refs are actually standing. They stop waiting on the ball to be kicked, and the person's tapped it in a way, and they're standing looking around it. Then they're now 10 steps behind. I think it happened in one of the games on Bank Holiday Monday that I was going, why is the ref stopped? Is he bringing this back? What's going on? But it's just a faster flow of the game that the ref needs to be there. But I think too, with the tackle, you kind of need to be at a better angle as well, because at times you kind of assume, right, well, they got their hand in the ball, but maybe they haven't. So it's still meant to be no deliberate bodily contact. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a grey area. So at times with me, I'll referee the game. So I'll talk to the girls, and it could be like, get up, get on with it, whatever. But it just depends on the like, if a big girl went and a wee girl went, like, do you know what I mean? Like, some people aren't going to go, oh, well, it's still 50-50. And you're kind of going, So, because I'd always laugh. Lara the Huntsy's obviously tall and whatever, and she'll go to tackle. I'll not name the girl. She's in the Antrim squad this year too. But she'd fall over, and we're going, but she got the ball. But Lara always got punished for it. And you're just going, it depends on just what the referee's saying at times. But yeah, it's hard to do at times. You just kind of need to repetition, probably. It's a bit like the girls are all at training and they're getting used to it, but then a lot of managers see the rules differently to what the referees have been told the rules. So you kind of need, I don't know, like Siobhan and the ones that are putting the rules in place to even go to a county training session and go, right, this is the actual rule, this is what should be expected, and then do it. But then at times you're going, right, well, some of them referees in Division 3, Division 4 are maybe only new into taking inter-county games, that maybe that they aren't as obviously up to it with Maggie and Siobhan and Leo and whoever else. That it's just trying to get that middle ground. But again, all those games are being streamed live, whatever, so you're assuming that people are watching them and going, right, well, there's a bit of a grey area in this, there's a bit of a grey area in that. Now we'll go look at it, and then we'll reassess and we'll speak to all the referees again. Because you say everybody's in a new learning process, but the tap and the go and things like that, that's just about speed and keeping up with prey. But the tackle is probably going to be the one that's dodgier. But again, to me, your eye should always be in the ball. It shouldn't be wrapped around just eyes in a girl, like, so it should always be in the ball. But again, everybody's got different views and stuff. So
look, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of, I suppose, meetings throughout the league with the way the rules are, whether we're going to see any changes to the way that the new rules have been brought in, with the, I suppose, the leniency of the tackle being brought in and stuff like that. But for matters of the present, I suppose we'll reflect on the last game that took place at the weekend in Division 2, and that was Donegal and Tyrone. Like, this game was one that everyone, I suppose, really looking forward to for Division 2. The two teams at the top of the table, unbeaten to start it, and a battle of two Ulster juggernauts as well in the form of Donegal and Tyrone. But it's Donegal that remain as the unbeaten team with a 3-9 to 1-8 win in the end. Katie Dowd's 2 second half goals proving quite crucial in this game, but it was Ciara McGarvey's goal in the first half that gave Donegal that 1-6 to 4 point lead at the break. They look like a very strong team, Edel. I know Donegal, they had to go through relegation playoff against Leitrim last year to stay in the senior championship for this year, and are a team that are trying to bounce back and be Division 1 team again and try and go longer in a senior championship. But from the opening 3 games, they're looking like a real good prospect for this year ahead.
Yeah, I do. I think they look a lot different towards the team that they were last year. I think they're after learning a lot. They probably went away from last year and kind of reflected on what needed to be done. And it goes to show they're obviously after working very hard, and the mixture between youth, I suppose, and you see Katie Dowd's there again this week with 2-1. Like, that's absolutely exceptional for a younger girl. Like, and then Suzanne White again, 4 points and 3 were from frees. But yeah, no, they look totally different. I suppose they had 2 wins away as well, which would be a massive boost for them. Playing away is always harder, especially against strong teams as well. Like, always to get the win away, like, it's an extra boost going back to training the next week as well. So I think James Daly is after doing a really good job with them. I think that they will come championship time. I think they'll be thereabouts as well. Like, they really are building, and I think even throughout the league and even this year, they'll really come on, So yeah, it's good to see them back to winning ways and strong in the league.
Yeah, Donegal do look very, very strong, and I suppose from the Tyrone perspective, they'll be disappointed not to still be an unbeaten team in the division, and they've also dropped down a couple of places in the league table. But Niamh O'Neill gets a goal and 2 points for them. Aoife Horace with 2 points. Maeve Mallon, Claire Canavan, Emma Conroy, and Nina McCanny also get a couple of points each. So I don't think they'll be too downtrodden to suffer a defeat. And I think it's only going to, I suppose, fuel them and make them stronger now for the remainder of the campaign. That, when they thought, they would, kick on and try and get up to Division 1, they need to, I suppose, put in more performances now against some top quality sides for the remainder of the campaign to do so.
Yeah, to be honest, sometimes getting beat is a good thing. It sounds mad, but it's a good thing, because now you have something to work on. Because if you're always winning and it's like, right, okay, you can pick 1 or 2 things, but I think it's easier to learn from if you've been punished for it by not getting the points on the board and the result you wanted, especially at home. As we said, they've been scoring goals for fun the past few games, whereas Niamh O'Neill, yes, got in the scoreboard again, and I think she's playing brilliant. Her vision and all, like I've said about it before, is class. But Donegal to travel, I'd say the only Donegal person involved with Donegal that was glad of the away game to Tyrone was probably James, because it was closer for him than anybody else. But Suzanne White, class. I think Roisin Rogers was back after that injury, and she's an experienced captain that leads basically with whatever is in front of her. She'll put her head there and she'll drive on herself. So you're kind of going, Donegal, James will be happy. Last year's transition year and getting to know the players, getting to get a nice bond and a build, and they're driving on now, and it's great to see. Tyrone, they're just going to look at the mistakes and just turn around and say, do you know what it is? We need to improve on A, B, and C, and just kind of punish teams, be a bit more disciplined in the tackles as well. Again, they conceded 3 frees, 4 frees. and it's just the way it's going with them. Because if you have Suzanne White on the end of a free, chances are she's going to put it over. So you need to be a wee bit more disciplined, especially when Tyrone go up to senior level for the championship. They're going to get punished way more. So that they need to just tweak a few wee things, and they'll be gutted they didn't get the points. But at the same time, the manager will probably go, do you know what it is? It could be a good thing for later down the line.
Yeah, I know like Donegal won by 7 points in the end, but they really had to work for it, and they had to work for the results against Monaghan as well. And I suppose, as you mentioned there, like from the Tyrone perspective, like, you know, getting a loss on the board won't be the worst thing either. I suppose it's good for them for mentality and I suppose confidence as well, that, okay, we know now why we lost the game and we want to make sure that we right the wrongs to step up to senior level. But Donegal just look like a ferocious team, Edel, and like they're going to be wanting to kick on now. And I suppose a lot of teams now will probably have the target on the back for them now for the remainder of this campaign to try and get a result against them.
Yeah, definitely. Like they're in flying form, like, and as you said there, Roisin Rodgers back as well, like, which she's in full flight, like as Emma said, she put her head where some people wouldn't, like, you know, she's very, very good. So yeah, I think if they just keep working hard and keep their heads down and obviously just go back and take things from each game that they can work on, I think they'll be very, I think every team kind of in that division now will have their eyes set on them. You know, I think they're sitting top now, aren't they, after as well. So they'll definitely be ones and ones to watch out for the championship as well.
Absolutely. And after their third win in a row, I managed to catch up with the aforementioned Suzanne White just to chat about Donegal's electric start to Division 2 this year. Now, as we mentioned there, of course, Donegal high flying it at the moment in Division 2, the Lidl Ladies National Football League. 3 wins from 3 and now have a break in play before heading into round 4. Delighted to be joined by their sharpshooter, Suzanne White. 3 wins from 3, Suzanne. A hard-earned result against Tyrone at the weekend, but positive signs for Donegal to start off a new league campaign.
Yeah, look, Diarmuid, it's probably the start that we wanted. 3 wins from 3, as you mentioned, a tough game with Tyrone at the weekend, and we expected that. Talk about the importance of starting off the league strong, and we feel like we've done that. And maybe from our point of view, or for me personally, I would have liked to maybe have another game this weekend, just when I suppose momentum's there with us. But at the same time, it's probably a weekend to regroup, and by no means was our 3 games perfect either. There's plenty to work on, but yeah, we're not looking too far ahead now. We're just kind of focusing on what's in front of us and whatever game we have next. Not looking too far down the line. So yeah.
And I suppose just on that, like, I know you've won the 3 games, but say, like, you know, the last 2 have been a lot tougher than, say, the first game that you guys had. But I guess that's good in a sense that you want to be well tested and you don't want that, I suppose, false sense that you win 3 games and it's fairly comfortable and then all of a sudden you hit a roadblock later on in the league. That you do want those challenges in a league campaign to try and, I suppose, nullify any mistakes with championship just around the corner as well.
Yeah, I think Division 2 is very unpredictable. I think it's very open. You know, you could come across a team that and have a wee blip yourself. Like, we would have found that last year that we really struggled to be consistent in Division 2. We dropped points places that we probably shouldn't have. Maybe so. I definitely think they're competitive with these new rules as well. Like, I think there's a lot of unpredictability. The game's a lot more open. You can imagine maybe we've had tight games as well. We definitely have. You want to be tested. I think every team's still trying to find their feet with these new rules and trying to adapt to them. But I definitely agree that the tougher and the tighter games is definitely what you want at this time of year. The football aspect of it's definitely far from perfect, but personally with these new rules, I've seen a lot more scoring. You know, from Donegal point of view, we've got more scores on the board. It's a lot more open. it probably suits an attacker more so than a defender, in terms of kind of it's 1-to-1 football. And I kind of mentioned that obviously there's a lot more scores in it, and even at the weekend, possibly we felt comfortable going into maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes of the Tyrone game, and then they get a goal. So I think that's down to the new rules as well, and just that open are a lot more open to it. But we expect more tight and tough games coming down the line, and probably what's got us over the line, I'd say, over the last 2 games when it has got tight is our bench. The girls that have come in and made an impact have been massive. They have fitted right in. They've re-energized things maybe for the girls on the pitch. They've played a massive part. So, yeah, that's probably what's got us over the line maybe in them tight games. And even in the Westmeath game, in our first game, it was tight. It was close until maybe the last 15 minutes, and we kind of pulled away, and it was probably them changes that we made that made the difference.
Yeah, I know you yourself have gotten plenty of scores in the first couple of games. A lot of scores have come from frees. We've kind of seen it across the divisions, not just from yourselves, but you look at, say, we spoke about it in the podcast last week, just the game against Monaghan, there was a lot of frees for both teams in that game. But I suppose you'll probably see that just a bit more with the rules, but also say that the solo in goal, you see the goal that Ciara got against Tyrone, that, stemmed from the solo in goal. She just went straight through the Tyrone defence and got the goal. And I suppose it's those little moments that, you're adapting to the new rules that can see a couple of more scores coming in games as well.
Yeah, probably in terms of the frees, it's an interesting one because in the Monaghan game, the majority of scores from both teams were free kicks. But then I suppose the week before, just because I take the frees against Westmeath, I actually only scored 1 free kick. So probably there's a lot of adapting for the players, but probably as well there's a lot more onus on the referees, and they're kind of probably getting used to it as well. And just probably for everybody trying to get clarity on different rules, and that's fair enough. It's very early on in the year. You mentioned Ciara's goal for the solo and go. That just is a great example of maybe the advantages of these new rules. It was great thinking by Ciara in the first place. And it was a massive turning point in the first half for us as well. We got out in front, and I always say, it's important to get maybe a goal early on as well. You can maybe settle a bit better into the game. So yeah, for example, that solo goal definitely speeds up the game. But yeah, probably an interesting one on the free kicks that maybe I've actually found more so in one of the games against Monaghan. Yeah, there was a lot of frees, maybe against Tyrone and Westmeath less because of maybe that more contact aspect. So probably depends on the game as well, and the physicality of it too.
Absolutely, but I suppose we've seen it's been a very competitive start to Division 2. I know we're only 3 games in, but last year's campaign, Galway and Cork just kind of ran away with things, and most teams were just kind of fighting it out to see who's going to finish kind of third all the way down in the table. But you're obviously high flying it at the top, but you've Mayo and Cavan that are both unbeaten after the same amount of games, and obviously you beat Tyrone, so they're not going to go away by any stretch of the imagination. Having lost a game, they're only going to come back even stronger, and it is shaping up to be competitive. But I suppose you just kind of have to take every game as it comes. And I know you mentioned that you'd rather not have a break with the momentum that you have built, but I'm sure, it's you kind of will go back now and enjoy a week off, just do a bit of recovery and just look ahead to your next game and just kind of take it as it comes and just keep trying to build this little bit of momentum.
Yeah, as you said, maybe our rule is definitely more open this year in Division 2. You're not going to rule anybody out or write anyone off, and we never have. I mentioned at the start probably just that we have to take it game by game, and probably different things. We've come from 3 from 3. That's great, but there's still 4 games to play. And that's a lot of things can change in that time. So, we have this week, I suppose, to regroup. Let maybe some of the girls go out and play their college football as well. But as he says, it's great to win games, but there's a lot of work to be done. And, you know, we've Cavan next, followed by Mayo. You mentioned the two of them. So one week after the other. I suppose with Cavan, it's another Ulster derby. We would have played Cavan actually in a challenge match at the start of the year, and they were very impressive. And they've, as you said, undefeated so far. You know, and then obviously Mayo have just come down from Division 1. They're going to be looking to get back up to Division 1. So, and then, you know, although we've a small break, then after that, like, we still have another 2 games to play against Tipperary and Wexford. So I just think every game's going to count. Every point you get on that table, whether it's draw, it's a win, everything's going to add up here. And I like, it's very hard to call like who is going to get that first and second place for a league final, because maybe last year I probably do agree with you that Cork and Galway were probably a step ahead of the rest of us, and probably didn't really get as much competitive games except maybe against themselves. So yeah, look, I think that every game's going to count. You know, there's definitely 4 or 5 teams that are looking for that promotion. It makes it very competitive. And as I said, like, we'll not look beyond, I suppose, our next game, and try and pick up points, you know, at every game, you know. So
I know that, say, James came in as manager of you guys for last year. I know, look, last year didn't pan out the way that you would have liked, say, with the way the senior championship transpired, that it came down to that relegation playoff against Leitrim in the finish up. But I know he's come out and like done interviews and said that, you know, the aim of the game for Donegal will be to push on and get promoted and do well in the league and try and get back up to Division 1. I suppose that there is that confidence within the group going off those 3 games, and I suppose that is the aim of the game, is just trying to get a very good league campaign now under your belts this year.
Yeah, like, it, you know, maybe at the start of the year when you set out your goals and your aims, like, a promotion was definitely mentioned within our grip. We probably haven't spoke much about it since, but I suppose it's at the back of your minds for maybe down the line. I know I've mentioned already that we're not looking beyond any game, and we really aren't. You know, we have this week off and our full focus is on Cavan, and we don't really look past that. But yeah, like, when you look back at our league campaign last year, we would have been quite disappointed with some of our results. Probably just with James coming in late as well, we were probably running a few weeks behind in terms of the league. We were playing a bit of catch up, and I felt that showed within our team anyway. There was a lot of girls trying to find their feet. They were new into the team. A lot of girls had come up from maybe underage county, and obviously it's a massive step up going into a senior inter-county team. So there was a lot of, you know, new faces within the squad, and I suppose the difference this year for us is a lot of them girls have a year under their belt, whether it's girls that are playing or whether it's girls that are still breaking into the squad. I just feel that everybody's kind of stepped up a level in terms of our standards and training. It's so competitive. I mentioned the importance of the girls coming off the bench. You know, we've a panel of 30 girls there at the moment, and like, any single girl could step into a position on the field and do the same job and do it as well as the other girl. It's a great place to be. And, you know, that's probably a credit to James and our management team for the standards that they've carried possibly from last year now into this season. And it's nice to see the hard work pay off, but I suppose it's coming from last year too, and that disappointment element as well, probably.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see what way the league transpires. As we said, look, Division 2 is going to be very, very competitive this year, and I know after the week's break we'll have to see what way the results pan out, because it does shape up to be a very competitive competition. But Suzanne, thanks very much for coming on our Ladies Gaelic podcast this week, and the best of luck for the rest of the league.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeremy. Thank you.
And that was, of course, Suzanne White from Donegal. We'll just take a look at the league table after the weekend's action. Of course, Donegal, as we mentioned, they're 3 wins from 3, 9 points at the top of the table. Second place after the weekend is Mayo. Their score difference from that Wexford game helping them up to second place, so they're joined by Cavan on 7 points in third spot. Tyrone are down to fourth after the weekend on 6 points. Tipperary in fifth on 3. Monaghan are in sixth on 3 points, and Westmeath and Wexford are in seventh and eighth respectively with no points tallied so far. Let's move on to the Division 3 action from the weekend. I suppose we mentioned plenty of goals the last when Westmeath and Tyrone played the week prior, but it was all about the goals down in Clare Castle. Down 7 goals and 13 points. Clare 4 goals and 13 points. Another defeat on the board for the Banner, while Down are unbeaten so far. They've done really, really well in Division 3 to date. And you look at the spread of their scores, Emma, you know, they looked really, really strong throughout the game. Like they were 3-9 to 1-5 ahead at half time. You've Emer Fitzpatrick scoring 2 goals and 8 points. Ava Hicks with 3 goals and 2. Kieran McCraner and Anya Smith with a goal each. And then Neve Rice with 2 points. And Neve McClory with a point. Like I think from the Down perspective, they'll be happy to put such a high scoring result on the board.
Yeah, the forwards, as we said, their confidence is just flowing out of them. Emer Fitzpatrick has been on fire, and Eva Hicks will be delighted to get 3-2 on the board. But to concede 4-13 is big as well. So to me, if I was looking at the forward coach's side of it, I'd be going, happy days, brilliant, we're getting the scores on the board. But defensively, I would be worried. If a team can get 4-13 against you, yes, you scored the 3 extra goals, but that is massive scoring against you. So I'd say their defensive coaches will be going now to go, right, what is going wrong here? What do we need to tighten up at? And kind of looking at it from there. So to me, brilliant to get the points on the board, but I would be happy at all with conceding 4-13. And I'd be worried about the umpires. Are their arms okay? From the lift the flags flat out.
I think they were working
at that
overtime
game.
that
But
game.
yeah, that's need to look at their scores.
But from the perspective then, Edel, from Clare, like I know results haven't gone their way so far to date in the league. Like they had the trip up to Antrim in round 1, then they had the home game against Louth last weekend, and then they had another home game this weekend to Down. And I suppose drastic in terms of the score, not only for the scores that they put up themselves, but the score that, you know, they conceded as well. Like it was a fairly close and hard fought game between themselves and Louth last week. But to say that they put up 4 goals and 3 points on the board, as Emma just comes back to us after having her Wi-Fi just go down for a split second. But mentioning that, like Clare can take an awful lot from that performance, and we'll just try and, you know, get another result. You know, they want to stay in Division 3, but at the moment, 3 defeats in a row, they're under a small bit of pressure.
Yeah, they are. They're under a little bit of pressure, but I suppose, look, you have to look at things you can take from it. And I suppose scoring 4-13, like, you know, it is a good score to rack up, and especially against Down. And I suppose you have to kind of take into effect, I don't know, like some of the games that have been played on the 4G pitches, which are probably going to be a little bit quicker than the normal GA pitch, I suppose, as well. Like, so I'm kind of wondering, is that something to do with the 7-13, 4-13 difference? I don't know. And then there's also, like, you have to keep the tree up. So is it the breaches as well, you know, of one-on-ones as well, and the solo and go as well, just being able to breach teams a little bit quicker, I suppose. But look, all they can do, I suppose, Clare, like, look, they are a good, strong team as well, and they will go back and take a lot from that game, and hopefully they'll be able to drive on. I suppose they are sitting bottom with Limerick, but there is a few games left to play yet, so I suppose they'll just have to go and go to the drawing board and just see what they can improve on as a team themselves for the next few games.
I'm in County Down, so the defensive coach must have heard me slabbering about them.
The Wi-Fi router got plugged out from the wall.
I'm halfway up Donard, so the Wi-Fi is not the best here. So,
but staying, I suppose, with Clare, Emma, like they're probably a team that's in a little bit of a transition period at the moment. Like they've had, say, a change in management from the last couple of years. Like Wayne Freeman did a very, very good job down there when he took over. But like looking at that team that you would have played with Antrim, that All-Ireland semi-final a couple of years ago, like from the Clare team that played that day, like they're missing so many big names for the league squad that's been there the last couple of games. And a lot of the younger players are now trying to step up. So they've got a lot of youth, and I suppose it's trying to give them minutes and give them that experience. And like they did put up a nice score on the board, but they'll just want to, I suppose, take it now and use a bit of a break, try and reset and come back for their next game and just try and turn things around.
Yeah, the week off will do the teams that are struggling a wee bit the world of good, because now they can go and properly analyze it and try to get structures and proper tactics in place. So Clare will be over the moon at scoring 4-13 because Down's no pushovers, and they clearly were patient, had a plan to do that, but now they need to sort out defensively. Maybe try and filter a couple of those more experienced girls in up the centre of the pitch a bit more and get them to maybe be the leader and communicate and organise and lead and drive from the front a wee bit more for them. But yeah, they're rebuilding. But again, they're in a tough spot right now, and we don't want them going down to hell, which is Division 4 there. So
Thanks.
Yeah, it's looking positive in what they're doing scoring wise, and they're building and progressing. But yeah, the time could run out on them this season, that they could end up dropping down. But again, they do have a lot of potential, and if some of the older, more experienced girls come back in, it could help them out a bit.
That's it. And Clare still are a very, very good team on their day. And let's see what way the remainder of their Division 3 campaign looks. But from high-scoring performances down in Clare Castle, we'll move to Rathkeale for Laois's 5-15 to 7-point win over Limerick. Limerick, a bit like Clare, in a bit of a transition period at the moment, lost a lot of their senior players, and it's a lot of their younger players that they're fielding at the moment. And Laois, of course, All-Ireland intermediate finalists last year, just showing exactly why they got there. They just looked very, very strong. 2-7 to 5 points up at half time. Didn't exactly slow the pace down. The likes of Emily Lacey with a goal and 5, Emma Lawler kicking 1-1, and then you have the likes of Laura Marie Maher, Lauren Kearney, and Mia Brannigan to get a goal each, along with a plethora of other players that popped up for a couple of points. So from Laois's perspective, Edel, to get that result on the board after the disappointment that's started their Division 3 campaign, I'm sure they'd just like to get the cobwebs dusted off now and try and kick on for the remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, definitely. Like Laois, in fairness, it was a great score, 5-15, 7 points. And I suppose, like, look, you have Emma Lawler, who was carrying a bit of a knock, I know, last year going into the All-Ireland series too. Like, it's great to see her back there scoring 1-1. You have Fiona Dooley midfield, Andrea Moore and half back. Like, they're absolutely brilliant ball carriers, you know, for Laois. And just to have that experience in there, and you see like the Mia Brannigan and that, I think they're only very young as well, you know, so they're kind of mixing the youth as well in there with those girls that have huge experience. And I suppose Laois are missing as well. I suppose we will probably see a few more players coming back in that were on that All-Ireland team last year. No, I think they will be happy enough with that. But I suppose Limerick as well are going through that transition too. You know, they're after losing a lot of players that we would have played against. You know, you see Roisin Ambrose isn't there, Dervla Murphy. Like there's huge names gone there. Like, so I suppose they're in a building phase. So they probably will be just trying to use the league as trying players out, see what's going to work for them for the championship coming. So, yeah, but Laois will be delighted with that win, I think, over the weekend, just to get that win on the board too.
Yeah, I remember, I think was it down in what was the LIT pitches a couple of years ago. I remember watching the likes of yourselves against Limerick in a league game, And like, it was a very, very competitive game. But you look at the Limerick team, I think Roisin's carrying a knock at the moment. I think she will be back at some point for them. Not sure about the two Lee sisters, Grace and Yvonne, whether they're going to come back this year, or like Roisin, if they're nursing injuries at the moment. But they've lost Kathy Mee, who I thought was very good the day that you played them down in Limerick that day, and Dervla Murphy as well. Like, they've lost an awful lot, but they have, Cueve McGrath did very well with 5 points for them, and Maeve McNamara and Molly Creedon getting scores as well. But I suppose just experience kind of told for Alicia Dell that they just have it. But again, like as we spoke about there, like those girls are still so young for Laois, but they have that experience, and I suppose if they can just get that confidence into them at this stage, they'll be wanting to push right back to where they finished up last year.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you can see it there, with them even now. Like we had played, I think it was a practice against them there earlier in the year, but they've a huge panel of younger girls as well, and they're mixing them in with every game. You can see the younger girls really stepping up there, and then just to have the likes of Fiona, Andrea, like you have Emma Lawler there, who's massive experience, and when you have kind of those girls around you as well, it's a lot easier play, especially with the balls that are being given, and just the confidence that they get from that game alone. Even some of the younger girls, getting that win, like it just drives you on even more. And kind of the girls seeing them as well, the younger girls in the All-Ireland last year, I suppose it's a massive for them too. Like, they'll want to be there, and they'll be pushing to try and get some of the other girls out so they can be in, like, as well, So yeah, it'll give them massive confidence going forward. And I think they should be really good in the championship again this year. We'll see a lot from them.
We'll move on to Louth's win against Fermanagh, 4-9 to 8 points. And, Emma take Joanne out of the team and a couple of other girls, and just didn't go the way that Fermanagh would have liked. And they had done very well in the first half. It was 5 points to 4 at the break. They deserved it. Emer Smith with 4 first half points. Like, they looked strong in the first half, but Jesus, Louth just were a completely different side in that second half. Just the way they got their scores: Emer Byrne with a goal and 3, Ciara Woods a goal and 2, and Sophie Everett with 2-1. Like, just Louth really kicked into gear, and it's a first defeat now in the campaign for Fermanagh.
Yeah, I just think it's all Joanne's fault. But Emer, obviously, without the likes of Lahane, Joanne, and a couple of the older girls now, Sinead Barrett has been unreal for them. And Joanne spoke about her last week at how she's come in and she's just a flying machine. But without kind of a wee bit more experience in that around them, Emer's kind of like then left there, and it's, she scored the 4 points in the first half, but once you get the grips to Emer, it's up to the next person to step up and the next person to step up. So again, without a bit more experience than wit up there, it's easier to be able to pick up the Emers and the Sinead Barrett and try and then work at it. But Louth are a really good team. Like Anya and all them girls and Emer Byrne, they've just got the experience and the know-how. They know how each other play now. Like, Aoife Halligan knows when to hold, and Anya goes. Eilish hand pushes up and somebody holds. So that understanding and know-how, because they've been a unit for the last couple of years. And yeah, they might have lost Kate Flood, but there's other people that had been floating in and out when Kate was out, or other people was out. So they're just getting the nice wee blend now of the experience with a couple of young people, and then they just come in and out. And it was great to see that Louth started to push on. Fermanagh will be gutted, but at the same time, Louth will just be going, you know what it is. We'll regroup, and we'll see how we can continue to push on.
Seems that down coach is still having an effect on Emma's Wi-Fi, but we'll move swiftly on to the game that we had looked at last week as, I suppose, a really big game at the top end of the table, and that was Roscommon and Antrim. And again, it's another draw. We've had so many draws in the league, and we're only 3 rounds in this division. 2-8 for Roscommon, 2-8 for Antrim. And again, Edel, it's a week that Roscommon leave with a share of the spoils, but have a chance to win it in the closing exchanges and might be kicking themselves not to have gotten that result.
Yeah, I suppose they will be kicking themselves at the end of it, but then you have to look back and look at Antrim's wides as well. They had 12 wides, Roscommon's 2, I think, so they'll probably have to look at that as well. I suppose it was a really close game. Both were unbeaten. So, I think Antrim's goals, Marie O'Neill has been really good for them again with 2 goals there. And I suppose Lara as well and Teresa Mallon, like give loads of experienced girls there, I suppose, as well. And just, I suppose, Roscommon will be good not to take the win away. I suppose they did have that chance at the end, but I suppose the experience of Antrim as well, they're absolutely unbelievable team. And I just think as well, I suppose, I don't know what went wrong on the day with wides and stuff for Antrim, but I think they will be probably looking at that side of it as well.
Yeah, and Antrim had started brightly. You mentioned, Marie O'Neill getting a goal, and it was, 1-2 to 2 points early on, and then all of a sudden, Roscommon scored 2-2 to, 2 points from Antrim. Lara Hunzi gets 2 points, but it's Caoimhe Lennon's 2 goals that really, I suppose, puts the cat amongst the pigeons, and you're going into the break, 2-4 to 1-4 up at half time, and it was a fairly close game. Hunzi and O'Neill added a few points before O'Neill got her second goal, and Antrim are right back into the driving seat. But again, Roscommon comes straight back into the game, and while you're thinking who's going to get a potential winning score, Caoimhe Lennon equalises it, but it's a shot that drops into the hands of Anya Devlin. I think it was Kate Nolan had an effort that could potentially have won the game, but they'll probably be kicking themselves. But I think it was a good test for Antrim as well to come up against a team like Roscommon, who, like themselves, are trying to kick on and move up further up the divisions as well as that. But I think from the Antrim perspective, Emma, they'll certainly take the draw because it could have been worse. But as Edel mentioned, they 12 wides and plenty more efforts that drop short into Helena Cummins' hands in the Roscommon goal.
Yeah, I was speaking to a couple of girls and I said to them, it's now when they're playing that they're a wee bit stronger, more. But again, when it comes to the tighter games, their efficiency will have the breach, which caused the point that then got Roscommon back on board as well. So they will need to tighten up on that. Yep, both teams will be got it that they probably didn't get the win because of the chances they had, but at the same, probably over the moon. I'm going to crack up at my Wi-Fi. There must be something going on out here. You probably Antrim will be buzzing to get a score against such a good team. But at the same time, they do need to.
Let's just take a look at the Division 3 table just after the weekend's action. Antrim still remain top of the table with 7 points from their opening 3 games, joined now by both Louth and Down. Score difference keeping those teams separated. Antrim top, Louth in second, Down in third. Roscommon are in 4th with 5 points, Laois in 5th with 4, Fermanagh in 6th with 2, and they're bringing up the rear once again. We have Clare in 7th place and Limerick in 8th place. So divisions 1, 2, and 3 won't have any games. Well, had no games scheduled. Of course, Division 1 will have a game that was supposed to be played last weekend and is now moved to this Sunday. But for most of the teams, they will now have a break until we return to action for the 22nd of February. That sees Division 4 return this week, and we've 4 games down for decision. There, Kilkenny taking on Leitrim at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Longford hosting Sligo, Offaly taking on Carlow, and Wicklow against Derry. So with 4 big games down for decision there. I suppose from your own perspective, Edel, you're flying high at the top end of the table, and you'd be looking to pick up another result this weekend. But another tough opponent now in the form of Offaly. I know it's a short-ish spin for you guys to play an away game, but they're looking like a very, very tough team.
Yeah, I think we might be flying high at the top, but we still, I tell you, we'll be under no illusion now with the last 4 games we have in hand. Like, we've obviously Offaly now the weekend, which are going really well as well. They're a really quick team. They like to move forward. They've great runners off the ball and obviously some great shooters as well to try and stop up there too. But I suppose like we do have, like we've Leitrim, Longford and Derry as well, you know, so we have 4 tough teams ahead of us. So we'll take this one first anyway, Offaly the weekend. So it will be a tough game and a lot of training and learning to do as well from the game previous. You know, we played Wicklow the week before and I suppose like just our decision making wasn't up to scratch on the day, you know, and it nearly cost us as well. So we'll be definitely going into the Offaly game knowing that it's going to be a really tough game. Always playing Offaly away is and Offaly are going to want to get a win as well on the board too. So yeah, it's going to be a tough week all around, I think, for a lot of the teams in Division 4.
Yeah, I think Leitrim will be fancied to get that result against Kilkenny, just with the way that they have been playing at the moment. But like Longford will fancy their chances against Sligo. Sligo will fancy their chances against Longford. You look at that Wicklow and Derry game as well. Like Wicklow are looking for a first result on the board, and Derry will be looking to get a result as well. So Division 4 is really, really competitive, and you know, trying to get into those semi-finals is one thing, and then if you've another thing of trying to get into that league final at the end of it. So it's really shaping up to be a competitive, battleground across the board for all these different teams.
Yeah, definitely. Like as we say, we've said it already. Like Division 4, it's so hard to get out of. You know, I suppose we went up one year and we weren't long coming back down last year. You know, we lost a lot of players, I suppose, and a lot of girls went travelling. So we kind of were in that whole transition phase last year. We're after getting a lot of players back, I suppose. But look, it's going to be so competitive. Like you look at the likes of Leitrim, they're absolutely unbelievable players. Like, you know, their drive, their determination, they're playing really, really well. They seem to be getting a good score up in all the games they've played. Like they're well able to take their scores. The same with like Longford are going really well as well. Like and Derry obviously as well. Like they're always hard to beat. I suppose we have them at home this year, the first year in a while, but there is a lot of the games now. It's going to be tough. Like semi-final spaces at the end of it, it's going to be tight, and it'll come down to I suppose it'll be probably 5-6 teams there in the mix come the end when the final few games are played. So yeah, it's going to be very competitive, hard to get out of again, but look, we just may put down our heads and keep going.
And that's why Emma refers to Division 4 as hell, because it is hell for every team that's down there. But look, that's us out of time for the episode this week. A big week now of Division 4 action, and of course that refixed Armagh and Cork game in Division 1. We'll be back next week to digest everything that's happened from another frantic weekend of action. Of course, looking ahead to the Divisions 1, 2 and 3 returning next weekend after next, should I say. It'll make sense next week when I do say next weekend, but for now we'll be focusing on matters on the 15th of February rather than the 22nd. My thanks for Emma once again joining us, and our guest host joining this week in Edel Hayden. We'll see if Joanne returns in one piece next week, Emma, or we might be calling on our super sub once again from Carlow to deputise. But hope you've enjoyed our episode this week, and we'll catch you next week for another Ladies Gaelic Football Podcast episode here on FinalWhistle.ie.